Chaudhary Shri Srimad His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. Entitled Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. We're on text 18. Bhaktim hara bhagavati pravahan asadsham ananda bashpa kalaya mahur ardhyamanaha Vikli Yamana Hridaye Pulakachitango Natmanam Asmarad Asav Iti Mukta Lingaha Bhaktim Hara Bhagavati Pravahan Ajasram Ananda Bashpa Kalaya Muhur Ardhyamanaha Vikli Yamana Hridaya Pulakachitango Natmanam Asmarad Asaviti Muktalingaha.
Bhaktin hara bhagavati prabhahan najastram Bhaktin hara bhagavati prabhahan najastram Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamanaha Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamanaha Viklidyamana videya kulikachitango Viklidyamana videya kulikachitango Natna namasmararasa Lingaha Bhakti hara bhagavati prabhaham ajastram Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamana Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamana Vikli yamana hridaya pulakachitango Vikli yamana hridaya pulakachitango Natmana masmaradasa vimuktalinga Natmana masmaradasa vimuktalinga Bhaktim hara bhagavati prabhaham ajastram Bhaktim hara bhagavati prabhaham ajastram Ananda vasma kalaya muharadyamana Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamana Viklidyamana hridaya pulakachitango Viklidyamana hridaya pulakachitango Natmanam asmaradasa Natmanam asmaradasa vimuktalinga Bhakti hara bhagavati prabhahan najastram Ananda bashpa kalaya muharadyamana Vikli yamana hridaya pulakachitango Natmanam asmaradasa vimuktalinga
Anybody else? No? Okay. Okay, word by word. Bhakti, devotional service. Harao, unto Hari. Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pravahan, constantly engaging in. Ajasram, always. Ananda, blissful. Bashpakalaya, by a stream of tears. Muhuhu, again and again. Arjamanaha, being overcome. Viklidyamana, melting. Hridayaha, his heart. Pulaka, standing of hairs. Achita, covered. Angaha, his body. Na, not. Atmanam, body. Asmarat, he remembered. Asau, he. Iti, thus. Muktalingaha, free from the subtle body. Okay, translation. Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes, his heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. Purport. Due to constant engagement in devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping the deity, etc., a person, as prescribed in 9 varieties, there are different symptoms which appear in the body of a devotee. These 8 bodily transformations, which indicate that a devotee is already liberated within himself, are called Ashta Sattvika Vikar. When a devotee completely forgets his bodily existence, he should be understood to be liberated. He is no longer encaged in the body. The example is given that when a coconut becomes completely dry, the coconut pulp within the coconut shell separates from the bondage of the shell and the outer covering. By moving the dry coconut, one can hear that the pulp within is no longer attached to the shell or to the covering. Similarly, when one is fully absorbed in devotional service, he is completely disconnected from the 2 material coverings, the subtle and gross bodies. Dhruva Maharaj actually attained this stage of life by constantly discharging devotional service. He has already been described as Mahabhagavat. For unless one becomes a Mahabhagavat or a first-class pure devotee, these symptoms are not visible. Lord Chaitanya exhibited all these symptoms. Thakur Haridas also exhibited them, and there are many pure devotees who manifest such bodily symptoms. They are not to be imitated. But when one is actually advanced, these symptoms are exhibited. At that time, it is to be understood that a devotee is materially free. Of course, from the beginning of devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens, just as the coconut taken from the tree immediately begins to dry. It simply takes some time for the shell and pulp to separate from one another. An important word in this verse is mukta lingaha. Mukta means liberated, and linga means the subtle body. When a man dies, he quits the gross body, but the subtle body of mind, intelligence, ego carries him to a new body. While existing in the present body, the same subtle body carries him from one stage of life to another, for example, from childhood to boyhood, by mental development. The mental condition of a baby is different from that of a boy. The mental condition of a boy is different from that of a young man, and the mental condition of a young man is different from that of an old man. So at death, the process of changing bodies takes place due to the subtle body. The mind, intelligence, and ego carry the soul from one gross body to another. This is called transmigration of the soul. But there is another stage when one becomes liberated even from the subtle body. At that time, the living entity is competent and fully prepared to be transferred to the transcendental or spiritual world. The description of the bodily symptoms of Sri Dhruva Maharaj makes it apparent that he becomes perfectly fit to be transferred to the spiritual world. one can experience the distinction between the subtle and gross bodies even daily, in a dream. One's gross body is lying on the bed, while the subtle body carries the soul, the living entity, to another atmosphere. But because the gross body has to be continued, the subtle body comes back and settles in the present gross body. Therefore, one has to become free from the subtle body also. This freedom is known as muktalinga. Om Jnanadavanandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvan Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karirvachavan Pangam Langate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundiritaranam Vancha Kapurabhishta Kripasindabevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So just read the translation again. Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes, his heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. So Srila Rupa Goswami, in his Upadeshamrita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada makes a point in the purport, quoting him, that one has to cultivate Krishna consciousness. It's a cultivation. It's a process of cultivation. So it just doesn't happen, you could say, automatic. Whereas Rajendranath Prabhu was saying yesterday, it's not that the spiritual master comes and, like Harry Potter with a wand and, ding, you're liberated. But it's a lot of, struggle. It's a lot of endeavor. It's a lot of energy to become fully Krishna conscious. Apparently one time, because devotees would ask you, what pleases you the most? And Prabhupada would say different things sometimes. Like, you distribute books, that pleases me the most. Or if you love Krishna, he would say different things on different occasions. And one particular occasion, Madhudvisha Prabhu said that Prabhupada, quoting Prabhupada, that he said, what will please me the most is if you struggle. That will please me the most. And obviously he was referring to struggle. To be Krishna conscious means we go through the difficulties, we go through the obstacles, struggle through them for Krishna, to attain Krishna consciousness. And I remember my spiritual master one time, he quoted that at his Vyasa Puja, one of his Vyasa Puja celebrations, and he was making the point that everybody could relate to that, struggle, because almost everybody has their struggle they need to go through. So it's a cultivation. Here it's mentioning the subtle body, the gross body. I mean, it's saying that in the evening or at night or when somebody sleeps, whether it's the day or night or whatever, sometimes during or both, or class or, whatever it is. Whenever one sleeps, the subtle body takes them somewhere, takes them. But then Prabhupada says because the gross body has to continue, the subtle body comes back. In relation to the subtle body could also take one away when one is engaged in devotional service. I mean, one is worshiping the deity, for example, and the subtle body, takes one away, far away. Or one's chanting japa, and the subtle body, takes one far away, and then it hopefully comes back, So Borijan Prabhu, he said in his japa book, which is a very good book, he gets into all the from quoting scripture and everything, the psychology and how to deal with the mind and all these quotes from 11th canto and so on. But one of the points he says, when we're engaging in our devotional service, hearing and chanting specifically, but he's talking about japa, he said it's not an opportunity to let our mind tour the universe, because there's a lot out there. I mean, there really is. There really is a lot out there. I mean, people spend their whole life meditating on the ocean. It means the aquatics and the different type of fish and whatever, or surfing, or, I mean, every aspect of the material creation people just focus on. There's so many studies. People study this, people study that, everything. So there's millions of subject matters for the mind to be carried away by. So especially when one is engaged in chanting and hearing, that is the time, to try to rein in the mind and rein in the focus on Krishna's holy name. And if we don't cultivate that, then actually a very long time could go by. Years, decades, even lifetimes, without actually attaining the goal. That's how important it is to really cultivate. Like this is to develop. This is natural to the soul. What Dhruva Maharaj is, what's explained, he is experiencing the transcendental bliss, incessant tears, his heart melted. These are all natural things one feels, one experiences when they're in contact with Krishna. So if we're in contact with Krishna and we're not feeling that, that means it's an unnatural situation. It means we're in an unnatural situation. So the idea is everybody has aspirations, as we were talking about some days before in the class. Everybody has aspirations, so we should aspire for these things. So many of our acharyas, they have written songs and prayers all about aspiration, just like we're singing in the morning to Tulsi. It's very high aspiration. It's the highest. And there's so many prayers like that. So that's the idea, that to change our aspirations from aspiring for things of this world to aspiring for things in Krishna consciousness, advancing in different aspects of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada makes the point that the coconut, he gives this whole analogy of the coconut, and says, similarly, when one is fully absorbed in devotional service, he is completely disconnected from the two material coverings, the subtle and gross bodies. And by moving the dry coconut, one can hear that the pulp within is no longer attached to the shell or the covering. So the idea is that to become, detached. Actually, detached from the subtle body and subtle body and gross body. And that practically means that we become attached to Krishna. Because without becoming attached to Krishna, we actually can't become detached from our material body and mind and this whole material world. We actually can't become detached. It's impossible. So we have to become attached to Krishna. So within Krishna consciousness, we obviously there's so many negatives, right? Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then there's positive, do this, do this, do this. So if one's just focusing on the negatives, don't do this, like the rules and regulations, and they're not focusing on the positives, do this, do this, do this, it's actually very difficult to maintain that, to not do the certain things we're not supposed to do. It's actually very difficult and practically impossible. And that's where a lot of religions, and not everybody in every religious group, but a lot of them have difficulties with it. Even in Krishna consciousness, devotees have difficulties with that because they're focused too much on the rules and not on the positive. Just like those beautiful prayers. I mean, Rajendrananda Prabhu read yesterday from Nalakuvra and Managriva. I mean, absolutely, that was amazing prayers. They're praying, please let my eyes always be engaged in seeing your deity forms, and please let my tongue always be engaged in glorifying you and, speaking about you and not the mundane realm. I mean, such beautiful aspirations and prayers ideas were in those prayers. So, yeah, if we want to factually become detached, then we have to become attached to the positive. And therefore, Prabhupada would always recommend to be engaged in different things. He would say, engage yourself in kirtan, engage yourself in deity worship, engage yourself in reading, engage yourself in associating with devotees. And practically speaking, I was just thinking about this other day. Yeah, I was thinking about this other day because these devotees came from Laguna Beach, Vedavit Prabhu, and also Ratnabhushan Prabhu came down from Los Angeles. So I got a little of their association. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, there's nothing better than devotee association. There's actually nothing better. Like, devotees are very special and very unique and just alive. Devotees are alive. Other people are not alive. So yeah, we need to really apply ourselves to the positive aspects of Krishna consciousness, or else it's just not going to work. And we have so many great examples. There's Srila Prabhupada, of course. There's Dhruva Maharaj. There's Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya. There's hundreds and thousands of examples of devotees, and of course Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but of different personalities who are setting the pace, and also who we're supposed to follow. And this is of utmost importance, this idea of following. The idea of following the charyas. There's one shloka from the srimadbhagavatam. It is in the 11th canto about the Vanti Brahman. So there's a whole story about the Vanti Brahman, but one of the verses quoted there, he's saying that I will cross this material ocean of ignorance by being firmly situated in the devotional service of the Lord. That's how I'll cross this material ocean of ignorance. And this process has been approved by all the previous acharyas. So he's following the previous acharyas by engaging in devotional service, by which he could cross the material ocean. So devotional service and following the acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada, he is the acharya of the International Society of Krishna, the founder acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Of course, everybody knows that. And he is the person who sets the mood of all the followers of ISKCON. Whether one is a guru, a Diksha guru, or a Siksha guru, or a whatever guru, Vartma Padarshika guru, or a Bhakta, or temple president, or temple commander, or whatever, one has to surrender to Srila Prabhupada and to his mood and to his mission. And there's different, you could say, people have different minds, people have different intelligences. People have different ways, you could say, of interpreting Srila Prabhupada or understanding Srila Prabhupada, which that could create some problem. That could create some issues. Who is Srila Prabhupada? What does he stand for? What is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness? So, whoever one may be, or whatever position they are, then it's their responsibility to try to understand that point. Who is Srila Prabhupada? What does he stand for? And what does he not stand for? So in relation to that, because everybody, especially people who want to be leaders, or who are leaders, and everybody's a leader on some level, for someone. So, in my mind. So, if one wants to be a leader, or if they are somehow or other by whatever, karma, good fortune, bad fortune, bad karma, whatever it is, by circumstance, they are in a leadership position, then whatever the case is, somehow or other they have to try to figure out, okay, what is Prabhupada's mood? What is Prabhupada's mission? And if one's, not necessarily like in some, leadership role, I mean, they should still try to figure out actually what Prabhupada's position is. Whoever they are, they should still try to understand. But especially because the leaders have more influence over people. It means they don't have to be necessarily in a technical leadership position or something, but they, so how are we supposed to know? How are we really supposed to know what Srila Prabhupada wanted and what he, right? So one thing is that to read his books. That's pretty basic idea, right? Common sense, basic idea. Read his books. And Srila Prabhupada would say so many times, I put the best of me in my books. Everything is in my books. He said, I don't have anything else. Everything's in my books. So what Prabhupada wanted to communicate is in his books. So if one wants to be a leader, if one is a leader, then they should read books. They should read Prabhupada's books. And they should read Prabhupada's books systematically, page by page, chapter by chapter, purport by purport, cover to cover, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of Prabhupada's books, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Or else, practically, we can't really understand Prabhupada, because if we're not reading, we can't really understand. So this is a challenge, actually, because Prabhupada wrote a lot of books. It's not just one book, So, okay, I read Bhagavad Gita. Well, that's not exactly good enough. I mean, technically speaking, maybe it is, go back to Godhead or something, but technically speaking, it's not good enough, because Prabhupada wanted devotees to read all of his books. So Keshava Bharati Goswami, he's been on this heavy-duty mission, and by his own example, wonderful example, absolutely wonderful example. Every day, without fail, he's a sannyasi, he could have many engagements and traveling and this and that, but every day on Facebook Live, engaged in that Facebook, that wonderful Facebook Live, he sits there for at least an hour and he reads out loud Prabhupada's books. 40 pages. Yeah, 40 pages. Yeah, however long it takes, because some chapter. 40 pages he reads out loud. And that is a wonderful example he's leading. And there's other devotees, Vaisheshika Prabhu and others. So he recently, in a Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada, he wrote offering to Prabhupada, and he brought up these points. So I'll just read some of that. So this is from 2017. And it says, letting Srila Prabhupada speak for himself. My dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances, my deepest gratitude to you for giving us your brilliant translations of and purports to the most elevated of Vedic literatures. You have magnificently given humanity access to confidential knowledge of the absolute truth, the intimate personal desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his loving dealings with his eternal associates. You have made possible the awakening of love for Krishna and pure devotional service to his lotus feet, the goal of human life, in the heart of anyone in any part of the world who simply agrees to hear submissively with faith your transcendental ecstasies as you glorify the Lord in the process of pure devotional service in your Bhaktivedanta purports. Srila Prabhupada, my offering to you on this auspicious day of your appearance is a kind of sequel to my previous 2 annual offerings, in which I glorified the daily reading of your books, especially out loud, and shared the happiness I've been feeling in doing so with devotees, many of whom have written or visited me since I wrote those offerings to you. Offerings to say that their lives have changed permanently by reading your books out loud every day. Last year, I mentioned the survey taken at ILS, the Sangha of ISKCON's second tier leaders, held every 2 years in Mayapur. Now when it says second tier, what is that referring to? Huh? Okay, temple presidents and other leaders. Not GBC, not sannyasis, it's the next rung down, you could say. Yeah. The Sangha of ISKCON's second-tier leaders held every 2 years in Mayapur. The survey showed that in general, the leaders are not reading your books as you wanted them to, a fact that prompted the theme of my offering in 2016. That was the one before. So yeah, in 2016, Kesha Bharti Goswami, he mentioned the statistics of devotees reading. It was like, I wish I'll get the statistics another time, but it was strange. It was really strange, and it was really weird, and it was actually ridiculous. And I'm saying this not to I'm not up here, gonna start bashing ISKCON, whatever leaders or anything like this, but it's important actually that devotees read, because if they don't read, and what I'm saying, especially leaders, if they don't read, then how are they going to be guiding people? What are they going to be guiding them towards? Because without reading, the clarity of thought won't be there. The mission, it'll be a mission drift. Just like so many, Tirthamaraj mentions Salvation Army. He was mentioning it was the whole preaching and, fired up missionary work, and then he said it degraded mission drift into they have thrift shops all over town where they take people's junk and then sell it. Maybe they do something with the money, something good or whatever, but it used to be a fired up mission of preaching. And even if one says, oh, well, we are preaching, but okay, well, what are we preaching? Is it exactly what Prabhupada wanted? So these are things to consider. And us becoming liberated and us helping others become liberated. Because one doesn't become liberated, again, just automatic. One becomes liberated by a lot of endeavor, and one becomes liberated by following the charya, by following the spiritual master. And one becomes liberated by teaching others how to follow the charya. So in order to do that, we have to know exactly what the charya is saying, and we do that by reading, also by our serious surrender to him and his mission and our own spiritual practices. And then there's some chance of us becoming liberated and also helping others become liberated. So it's an act of mercy, actually, on ourselves, on others, and also it's just on pleasing Srila Prabhupada. And yeah, everybody, as it's saying here, everybody has to face different stages. Like all of us now. We're all souls. Obviously, we're all souls, right? We understand that. We gotta read about it. We're all souls, and we have these bodies, and the bodies are all in different stages. So you could say that there's different stages here. There's 20 years old. There's 30 years old. There's 50, 60, 70. So there's different stages of the bodies. And then, the last stage is, it's death. in which the soul goes to another body, and hopefully the soul goes back to Godhead. That's the idea. We want to go back to Godhead. We want to be transferred to the spiritual world. So, in that, Prabhupada would stress it all the time. Get out of this material world, get out of this material world, get out of this material world. Don't try to be happy in this material world. Don't try to be comfortable in this material world. Just practice Krishna consciousness, preach Krishna consciousness, and just go back to Godhead. And take as many people as you can with you, or encourage as many people as possible to go. So that's the preparation. We want to spread Krishna consciousness, we want to preach Krishna consciousness, we want to be Krishna conscious, and we want to go back to the spiritual world. And that all takes us, if we want to come to these stages, like Dhruva Maharaj and all these great devotees, that means we have to submit ourselves to the lotus feet of our spiritual master, who is, if in the case of Prabhupada disciple, they're submitting themselves to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet, and we who aren't direct disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we're submitting ourselves to the lotus feet of our spiritual masters, who they are submitting themselves to Srila Prabhupada. So you keep the line. It's a you could say line of humble servants. That's the whole idea. So and that's how we could actually reach the goal. So does anyone have any questions? Yes, Zach.
This may sound a little bit
you're the 20-year-old representative here.
Yeah. This may sound a little bit like a stump the Swami question, but I've thought about it a few times.
That's all right.
It's kind of an interesting point, or thought, which I'd like to hear what you think. So
we'll see if I'm stumped or not.
So it says in Vedic literatures, Kalau Sudra Sambhava, right? Everyone in Kali Yuga is a Sudra.
Born a Shudra, yes.
Born a Sudra,
yeah.
Unless undergoing purificatory rites and acting as a Sudra. Acting as a Brahmana. And Prabhupada said, like in many places, my books are meant for the most intelligent class of men. Or he also said, my books are meant for the intelligent class of men. So then, if the mass of society hasn't undergone like purificatory activities or aren't acting on the Brahminical platform, the intelligent.
Why are we distributing so many books?
Well, then, how do we balance those two?
Yeah, I have a few things to say about that. Well, Prabhupada did say on occasion, he said, there's Brahmins in every street corner, you just got to pick them up. Mm-hmm. So there are people who are, you could say, naturally inclined, or, towards, Brahminical life. I was also thinking of Lord Zetlin. I think it was Marquis. His name was actually Marquis Zetlin. Lord Marquis Zetlin. Got an old buck to hear Marquis. But, so the Gaudiya Math, they went there, and then they're preaching, and then this Lord, right, he said, can you make me a Brahmin? And they said, yeah, we can make you Brahmin. You just have to follow certain principles. And he said, what's that? And then the devotee said, well, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, and no meat eating. And then in his British accent, he said, impossible. I can't do that. Anyways, I was just thinking, can you make me Brahmin? So Brahmin means they have to come to the level of shuchi, being clean, externally, internally. There's a Brahmin in every street corner. But there are a lot of people who they can't necessarily understand, or they're not necessarily inclined to reading and so on. So what's going on with them? There was a case, I think Prabhupada was in Germany, and I was reading in this book, Srila Prabhupada and his disciples in Germany, but they arranged this program for Prabhupada, and there's a bunch of hippies and everything, and Prabhupada was about to speak there, and then he just changed his mind, and he told Hamsadutta, he said, these people are useless, you should just have kirtan and prasadam, they can't understand anything. So there are some people like that, and therefore Lord Chaitanya, and I mean, the Harinam Sankirtan, I mean, that's attractive to everybody. It should be attractive to everybody. That dancing, chanting, children, young, old, whoever it is, they'll be attracted to singing, dancing. Everybody loves music, so it's a universal language, music. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very expertly brought Harinam Sankirtan and Prasad. I mean, everybody likes Prasad. Everybody likes Harinam Sankirtan. But there are people who will be inclined to reading books, and who, it's not that everybody's, just, like that movie or something. You mentioned that movie. Anyways, we'll get into all that. But it's not that everybody's like, yeah. So, yeah. So that's my point, that who are the leaders of society? Srila Prabhupada said the leaders are the Brahmins. That's what he said. That's what the Vedic literature says. The leaders are the Brahmins. So, and there's definitions of Brahmins. Okay, external, internal cleanliness, tolerance. There's so many qualities that the Brahmins operate by. And part of being a Brahmin is to study. That is part of being a Brahmin, and they're supposed to guide human society. Then there's the Kshatriyas, or the, whatever you want to say, the managers or the military. They are supposed to take guidance from the Brahmins. So that's what I'm saying. If that's my point, that leaders, they have to study, they have to know, or else they shouldn't be leaders. What are they? They actually shouldn't be leaders. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say about that. Because part of being a leader is wisdom. You have to have wisdom to guide people. So.
Was the thrust of your question?
It wasn't really put in the form of a question. You just kind of
But I think it's growing out of the fact of you doing some book distribution and saying, well, these people are not the greatest class. What am I distributing? This Bhagavad Gita. How are they going to understand, right? Yeah.
I mean, some people are thinking, you never.
Well, the thing is, you have to realize
Time bomb.
that Srila Prabhupada's books, I mean, he did also say, I wrote them for my devotees.
Yeah.
And yeah, for reading about it. But the thing is, who is a devotee? In other words, at a certain point, none of us were devotees. And so the most intelligent class of men, the intellectuals and everything, oftentimes they'll be the last person to want to read the book. What's it about? In America, most people get a grade school education. They become literate, so you can read. The question is to strike a spark of interest in the subject matter of the book. And there's all kinds of books. You can distribute Bhagavatam sets, or you can distribute the perfection of yoga. These books are designed for entry-level books, especially like the Science of Self-Realization. They were put together mostly from articles from BTG, which is specifically chosen and edited to be a BTG article for the masses, that they can grasp it. They're edited in such a way. But of course there are going to be concepts that are difficult and everything. But if someone is interested in spiritual life, then this can be one of the things they read. And if they become attracted and curious, then they'll want to come and find out more and get on the internet now or whatever, or come to the temple. The whole idea is that you become qualified. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita is not an easy book. Many devotees, read it. I mean, the verses, the purports are full of all these quotes from the Upanishads. But it's a very authoritative presentation. So it takes a cultivation, and that's true of all of us as well. That's what you're talking about. We have to cultivate a desire to really read Srila Prabhupada's books and be eager to read and hear from Srila Prabhupada's books. So it's an ongoing thing. And then, it's not automatic. You can be the most literate person. You can be in the movement of 20 years and lose the desire to read Prabhupada's books. because they're a challenge to you. They're normative. It's not just some presentation of philosophy. Every page it says do this, don't do that. You're wasting your human form of life. If you're trying to enjoy, you don't want to hear that. So it's not a hard and fast thing. It's a cultivating, just like cultivate the taste for the name, you cultivate the taste for the books. But it happens, especially this whole thing you're talking about, in association and out loud. That's important. It's meant to be heard. That's a big thing. Is that hearing and discussing is like a whole other level of reading Brahma's books. That's the basic bhakti chakra, isn't it? You just read, but you read and discuss and work up to and get a taste of it.
You have something? Okay. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.